Wow, welcome. Good to have you all here for our launch of From Laid Off to Living. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to learn the story of From Laid Off to Living. We're going to hear from folks who benefited from it. And then we're going to take a sneak peek at the new virtual program and accompanying services. So this is our agenda for today. As Sari said, the chat is open. So if you could introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, why you're here, that would be nice to know too. And then pose any questions or comments that you have while we're going through the program. Also, as we conclude our time today, we're going to be raffling off 2 programs. So stick around because Sari's got this magic way of figuring out how to make the raffle work. And we're going to raffle off the interactive program. We're going to raffle off a session with our career coach, Siobhan. Hey, hi, Siobhan, welcome. And a session with our counselor, Paul. Okay, so welcome, Paul. Siobhan and Paul will be back to tell you more about the Laid Off program and their services. I love that doorbell. That's cool. Now I'm going to give you a very short history of From Laid Off to Living. And then we're going to introduce you to folks who have used it or are benefiting from the program right now. So the short story is in 2008, due to the Great Recession, 14 of my friends and former colleagues were laid off from the company for whom I had been the company coach. After an initial outreach, I invited them to come by my backyard in Fort Collins, Colorado. And over the next several weeks, they shared the emotions of shock and anger and fear and betrayal that many of you might be also experiencing. And then I facilitated what is now the From Laid Off to Living process, helping them move through the emotions of loss and grief, and then the uncertainty of the unknown, and finally into the eager optimism for the future. Then a group member's husband, who was with the Larimer County Workforce in Colorado, created the opportunity for me to train staff members to deliver this program with support groups to the dozens of folks being laid off in Larimer County. For the next several years, my colleague Diane, who's on the call today, and I offered From Laid Off to Living to the majority of counties in Colorado and a few in California. As the recession ended and the need was reduced, I moved on to other endeavors through my company, The People Business. But truth be told, the people I met during that time, whose lives were torn apart and then who had to start all over again, forever changed my life. Like Bruce, who in fear of being laid off worked harder and harder, even taking an additional night shift so that he could prove he was invaluable. And who, when laid off anyway, spent 2 nights frozen with fear in his truck, not knowing how he would move on. Who then came to our From Laid Off to Living support group with his hat pushed down to cover his eyes and whose anger was palpable. Bruce then slowly told his story over the next several weeks, let the group support him, and started the long journey back to emotional recovery and full employment. Or Lucille, who was let go 30 days before she was to be vested for full retirement with a company she worked for 22 years. Yet even Lucille, with the help of the group, felt all those feelings and worked her way back to a more zestful future in which she chose her own new beginning. So when Paul and I first started talking about creating a virtual version of From Laid Off to Living as a resource for those who needed it, it was at a small scale. I have to admit, I might have been initially a little reluctant to dip back into my memory of Bruce and Lucille and so many others whose lives were torn apart, even though I knew it would make the program more accessible. But we did work together to create this online From Laid Off to Living. And now with the devastating impact of COVID, who knew that it would turn out to be so essential for so many folks at this very devastating time? So now we're going to meet several of the folks who are using this program now to help them From Laid Off to Living. And we're going to start with Sari. Sari, tell us, if you would, in a few minutes, a little bit about your story and how the program has helped you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sari, and yes, I've been very familiar with Jonna and all of her amazing tools and all of the coaching that she's brought. So I also went through a layoff from the same company that several of us on this call were from, and that first layoff was really, really, really challenging, and it really shook up my sense of self and my identity. And using these tools and going through that process, when I was laid off a second time later in my career, it certainly made things a lot easier. And just helped me to not have it feel like it just really rocked my whole world. And ultimately, I guess I would call myself a success story in all of this, and have really come out on the other side to have my own business and really find work that I love and is really meaningful to me. So I credit a lot of my growth and transformation to the work that Jana has put out into the world. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sari. And we also call her our marketing maven because now she's helping us put this program out to the world. So thank you very much. And now we're going to hear from Tara. Tara, are you with us?
See. I don't see Tara, so we'll have to.
How about Kathy? Kathy on with us yet? We might have to wait for them and they'll come on.
Come back.
Okay, we'll come back to them. But now you can begin to find out a little bit more about the program itself, which I think will help you understand the depth of resource it is. So let's go to Paul. Paul, thank you very much for being here. And Paul and I started this journey a while ago, and little did we realize where we'd be today. But thanks, Paul. Thanks here.
Thank you, Jana, and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your time and celebrating with us. My name is Paul, and I have somewhat of an uncommon background that includes having been a licensed mental health clinician since the early 90s, but also working in the corporate world as an information technology executive. So when Jana approached me in, I think it was 2019, about turning her book into an interactive online program, the challenge appealed both to my therapist part of me and the IT part of me. So I'm going to take a few minutes to highlight some of the elements of the website and then provide just a brief sneak peek at the online program itself. So give me just a minute here to share my screen. So this is the main page. Of course, the most important part is probably the address at the top, the From Laid Off to Living.
It's about 2/3 of the page, so maybe roll it up just a little bit.
Okay, hang on.
There we go.
Okay, that works.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, awesome. All right. So yeah, so from layedofftoliving.com is the page, and that way you can remember to go back in your own time and at your own pace to kind of look things through. And then in a few minutes, I'm going to give you a kind of a sneak peek of the course itself. So I'm going to start here with Services tab. And there are 4 primary components to this. The first one at the top of the list, of course, is the online program. And it's at the top of the list because it provides a foundation and a shared vocabulary that's important when you sign up for the additional elements of the package later. I think of it kind of like a primer, because we often don't know what we don't know, and experiencing the program kind of lays the groundwork for everything else. And then the second element here is the career coaching program. And I'm going to turn it over to Siobhan, our career coach from Luminous Spark, to tell you more about that element.
Hi everyone, I am Siobhan, and as Paul said, I'm a career coach with From Laid Off to Living. And I jumped at the chance to join the From Laid Off to Living team because I too have been laid off twice in my career and have had loved ones with the same experience. And I understand how it can really shake a person to their core. And for me, the first time I was laid off, I think the dominant emotions were sadness. I was in a job and at an organization and on a team that I really loved. So I was very sad about losing all of that. And I was also very anxious. I had been at that organization for over a decade. It was my entire professional career at that point. And I didn't know what else I was qualified for. I didn't know if my skills would be transferable. I didn't know how to do a job search at another organization. So I felt a lot of self-doubt. And I think that discomfort with and fear of the uncertainty led me to jump at the first opportunity that came my way at that point. So I moved quickly into another job. Um, and that turned out to be not everything I would hoped. There were ups and downs, of course, but I also, had that lingering self-doubt and lack of confidence, and I stayed in that position longer than I really should have in retrospect. And at a certain point, it just stopped feeling good. I realized that I had stopped listening to my inner voice and my intuition, and then I needed some help to get out of that place. And I started working with a career coach, and I have had several just phenomenal career coaches that have helped me so much in doing like the deep introspective work of knowing who I am, what I bring, what my values are, what my purpose is. And so after my second layoff, I was able to trust myself more and apply all of that and think about what I really wanted to be doing in this world. Um, and I feel so much more vibrant and joyful. I laugh more. My husband tells me I'm more pleasant to be around. And so I am so thrilled to have the opportunity to guide people who've been through a similar experience of a layoff. And we can work together on the technical pieces of that, like how to put together a modern resume, how to put together a LinkedIn profile, a cover letter, preparing for interviews, all of those really tangible aspects. But I also see a lot of the clients that I work with struggling with confidence. Job searching is a very vulnerable position to be in, where you are putting yourself out there and facing rejection. And I love to support people in their mindset around that and learning that that's part of the process. And it isn't necessarily rejection, it's redirection. You are going to find the right place for you when you know yourself and you know what you're looking for and you trust yourself and you're persistent. Um, so when I start working with new clients, we have an initial coaching session and just get to know each other a little bit. You can see whether it feels like a good fit for you to work with me. And we'll talk about what happened with your layoff story. We'll talk about where you are in your job search and your healing from your layoff. And then the coaching itself is very customized. So again, I can help you with tangible aspects of career searching and interview prepping and all of that good stuff, but also some of the deep work so you can feel more connected to yourself, to your purpose, and what you bring into this world, which also shows up in your job search and is really important for your personal satisfaction and life too. So that's it for me for now. If you have questions about job search, I know we'll have some time on this call to address questions, so feel free to chat them in and we'll get to what questions we can. We also have a private Facebook group, which Sari will tell you more about. So if we're not able to get to all your questions today, I would love to invite you to join us there, and I can also post information there.
Right. Thank you, Siobhan. That was awesome. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here so that the next, the third element is the professional counseling element, which is something that I'll be providing myself. And so for most people, being laid off is a shocking and threatening experience. And unexpected threats trigger an instinctual fight or flight reaction in people. And it dumps adrenaline and cortisol and other chemicals into our system. And of course, historically, this was an adaptive thing, because if the threat was a saber-toothed tiger, let's say, we relied on that response in our body to either fight the tiger or run away. And if we survived, then that act of fighting or running away actually discharged all of that energy and the adrenaline, so that we ended up back in a kind of neutral place where we started. The problem with layoffs and other things within, in the modern world, is that they're not an immediate threat to our physical safety. They're more of a vague, emotionally triggered event. And so we experience, anger and fear and frustration and grief and all kinds of other feelings that trigger the exact same fight or flight result. Only now we have no clear outlet for dispelling that energy by physically fighting or running away. And so what we tend to do is we just stuff it. And when we stuff it, it becomes anxiety and depression and hopelessness, and even stress-induced physical ailments like autoimmune disorders or back pain or weight gain or addiction. So the resulting emotions and the outcomes of stuffing all of them then impact our performance, including getting and thriving in our next opportunity. Those feelings have a tendency also to creep out in unconscious ways, like during an interview, and they're red flags for potential employers. Through counseling, you can release and heal from those stuck feelings, which enables you to put your best foot forward in terms of your next opportunity, but really also helps you put your best foot forward for your life, right? Your loved ones, your family, your friends, kind of get the real you back again. And so I'm also a board certified clinical hypnotherapist, and I've used hypnosis in my therapy practice since 1992. I love offering hypnotherapy as an element of counseling because it's just so dang efficient. Right? I regularly help people overcome things like anxiety and depression in just a few sessions rather than like several months. And I've also used hypnosis with Olympic and professional athletes and students and executives. And there are some specific techniques to quickly improve your confidence, to reduce stress, and even a couple techniques to really ensure your best performance at an interview. So those are some of the things that and of course I work with each person individually to kind of figure out what their goals and processes and priorities are, and then we kind of work through those. So that's the professional counseling element. And then the last element is the support groups, the final service we offer, and they're facilitated. So they're Siobhan or I would be facilitating those, and they're important because during the layoff we often lose much of our support system in an instant, or else it becomes awkward because we're leaving all of those colleagues that we worked with, that we used to stand around the water cooler with or have coffee with. And that ends up leaving us feeling isolated at a point when we really need other people a lot, right? So other people in our lives who are not experiencing a layoff can be certainly great support systems, but they have a limited perspective and sometimes even kind of a limited tolerance for hearing our story as we work through it, because it can take time. And after a conversation or two, our friends and family, no matter how much they love us, they might kind of tire from hearing our story, and they can't really relate to our experience at that moment in their life unless they've had a layoff in the past. So support groups allow us to unpack those challenges as they evolve with other people who really get what we're experiencing because they're experiencing it too. And the support groups also give us a chance to hear and support others, which research has shown over and over again really helps us to move focus away from our own suffering and to help us feel more powerful as we process and support other people. So that is the support group element. One other thing I wanted to hit on here, let's see. So this is just kind of the page where you can see all of them, the program and the career coaching and counseling kind of side to side, easy to see those. So let's go next to the actual program itself and give you a bit of a preview of that. Okay, can you see this? It's a different page. Okay, awesome. So this is what the program itself looks like. You can see on the left-hand side, you've got a context menu, which can expand and contract. You also have a place where you can search. So if there's a chapter that you reviewed or some item that you reviewed that you thought, oh, where was that? I want to go back and see that again because it was really important, but now I can't remember, right? You can just search and find it. And then you can see here, like on this welcome page, at the very bottom, there's just, you read through and then you can carry on with the content. It just moves you to the next page. Right? And you can also, I'm Paul. Pause this real quick. You can also mark items or pages as incomplete. So all of these up here that you saw a minute ago, you can see the green text to say, oh, I've done those chapters. But if there's one that I really want to go back to, I can just mark incomplete down here at the bottom, if you can see my cursor, and it'll take that check mark away. So it's easy for me to return back to that. And we've got here, this is an example of one of the videos I'll show you real quickly. It's just about a minute long.
Hi, I'm Paul Lankfield. I'd like to welcome you to the program From Laid Off to Living. We appreciate that you've chosen to take this journey with us. We're excited to begin. Have you ever had the experience of crossing a shallow stream without a bridge? It can be unnerving, stepping off the stable, familiar bank and out onto the various stepping stones across the stream. Some of them are slippery, and sometimes you have to test the next rock with your foot to see if it's stable before stepping. And sometimes the next stone is just a bit farther away than you really feel comfortable reaching. Yet, it may still be your best or only option. If you reflect on the streams you've crossed on your life's journey, you may quickly realize that your moments of best learning, insight, and wisdom come from those crossings, not from when you're sitting comfortably on the banks. Your goal may always be to reach the far bank, but your focus and attention should be on the process of crossing the stream. Sometimes we're so anxious to reach the other side that we scramble quickly across the stream and land on the other bank with a couple of scrapes and bruises and one wet shoe. But in the Laid Off to Living program, we're going to encourage you to take a pause, a deep breath, and then forge the stream with purpose and intent, so that when you land on the far bank, you discover that it's the perfect fit for you. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Others have stories crossing similar streams, and you may have even crossed this stream before yourself. You may be surprised and comforted when you discover how similar your feelings and experiences are to others. So let's begin with story time.
So that's just an example of the type of videos that are throughout the program here. And then in addition, there's different texts. This is a section kind of on different stories that other people have told of their experience. And then in the chapters, you also get an opportunity to answer questions and to journal. So this is what that would look like. This is just one example. We talk in the program about chosen change and not chosen change and the differences between those. Change is stressful. So even good change is stressful. But if we choose it, it's a lot less stressful than if it's kind of forced upon us. And so if we have unchosen change like a layoff, it's different. So this is an example of, at the end of this chapter, after you've experienced this not chosen change, what are some things that you can choose, right? Because if we empower ourselves by choosing what we can control, that helps, right? And so in here, it says, in the wake of each morning, or I wake up each morning and I'm grateful for, X. And you can just type in here, I'm grateful right now for Jana, mentorship in the program, right? And then you submit this, and you can, of course, cut and paste this into a document if you want to keep a running kind of document for yourself. And you submit it, and then it kind of moves on to the next question. So this is the interactive nature all the way through. And there's some audio sections that don't have video, and a lot of the videos, I think pretty much all the videos have like a transcript. So if you want to go back and read it, that's an option. So that's the program kind of in a quick nutshell. And with that, I will hand it back to Jana.
Thank you very much, Paul. I'm going to jump on here somewhere.
Oh, I need to stop sharing. Give me just a second here.
Here we are. We're back again. So thank you very much. I think you all can appreciate the amount of professionalism that's invested in this program with both Siobhan and Paul, and are deeply invested in your success. And I think that's really what this is all about, really. How do you make this navigation from being laid off to your next adventure? which should be full and zestful and a good experience. Now we're hoping that we can go back and say hi to Tara and Kathy. Let's see if we can. If we can, we will. If not, we have other things we'd like to talk about. So Tara, are you with us? Maybe not.
No, yeah, neither one of them are on
Okay.
yet, so I'll let you know.
We have lots of stories that you can all share with each other, and certainly in a few minutes, if you'd like to tell us, that'd be great. But now we have a wonderful opportunity to meet Regina. Regina is representing for us today the Larimer County Workforce Center, who just like a decade ago is eager now again to engage with us and use the virtual version of From Laid Off to Living to reach out to their clients. So that will be launched here in about a month. And right now I'd like to ask Regina to talk to us a little bit about that program and share what you hope it will achieve.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. I am Regina Chavez, and I'm an employment specialist with the Larimer County Economic and Workforce Development Department. And we first partnered with Jonna back in 2009 through like 2012. And at that time, we offered an earlier version of the Laid Off to Living program to many of our customers that have been laid off. And that was offered in combination with a support group. And what we're now looking at doing is offering the virtual program as part of our overall services to our customers that have been laid off. And so we're really excited about offering this new virtual program, and we'll be offering them to at least 100 of our customers. So yeah, very excited about doing that.
That's awesome, Regina. Thank you so much. And what's really nice about the way you're doing it is they're going to launch their endeavors right through your website and through your portals, right? That you set up.
Yes, exactly. It will be offered through our website. And then we also have another program that we offer to our customers called My Career Compass. It will be offered there. So it will be readily available for anyone that would like to participate. So it'll be readily available. Very excited.
Yeah, that's pretty.
So thank you, Jonna.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And
Yeah.
what's really exciting too is we're hoping that just like the last time we went around, when Larimer County feels solid about the program, that they'll spread back again into the rest of Colorado, and hopefully we'll create those links again.
Yes.
Because folks in Colorado, California, and all the folks that are calling in today from your state have the same resources. They have workforce centers or equivalents, right, who folks to help them back in the saddle. So thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Very exciting.
Great.
Thank you
so much. Okay, I think now.
And Jonna, Tara's here.
Sarah, you're up.
Tara's here.
Oh, Tara, great. Let's grab Tara here while she's here, folks, and hear about someone who's currently involved with the current version of the From Laid Off to Living program. So Tara, you want to jump in, and thanks for finding your way here.
Yeah, apologies. I got an email saying Mountain Time 12 p.m. and then I had heard 10 a.m. So
No worries. Well,
when you texted me, I'm like, oh crap, it's 11. It was neither of those. So anyways, appreciate you guys letting me talk for a minute here. So the program From Laid Off to Living, it was a very welcoming program to me. After losing my job, it was really nice to know that the company was gracious enough to allow Kathy and I to be a part of the program. It kind of took a little bit of the sting off of it. And it allowed me to hear about what others in similar situations have gone through, and to know that I wasn't alone in what I was feeling. Like there was certain thoughts going in my head that this is only me right now. And then I read those, the first section of the program is just reading through other people's experiences and getting laid off, and some of them were almost word for word my thoughts. So that was really really helpful. And then there were a few key points in this program just helped me in my own stage of finding work. One of the things that the program kind of taught me was to pace myself. like give myself time during the day to do other activities while searching for work. Before that point, before starting this program, I was kind of just in the neck of it, and I didn't really pace myself well. So so it was a good thing that this program helped me with that. And then another thing that it helped me with was knowing that I don't have to say yes to all the job offers coming to me. I've already had some job offers, and some of them just don't feel my speed and what I really want. There was one job in particular that the description was one thing. The first person I interviewed, the description completely changed, and then it just kept changing every time I talked to a new person. And I was like, okay, this is not for me. I want to know what I'm gonna do. So this program allowed me to really evaluate what I want and what I look for. And it kind of helped me give myself that focus. So see, in terms of how the program felt digitally, I'm a pretty tech savvy person, but I feel like this program could be any level of individual able to work there, as long as they can go on the internet on their own. I think they can figure this program out. It was easy to go into, it was easy to fall through, and it was actually easy to get back into, because there's some programs I've had that I forget the web address and then I can't figure out how to get back to where I was. I didn't have any of those issues with this program. And I especially liked the journal entries piece, where each chapter had their own moments of journal entries, and it helped me to evaluate where my thoughts were based on what I had just read, and be a little proactive with, okay, how does this affect me later? So let's see, I'll just keep reading my notes here. And then I really appreciate the addition of the coaching and the counseling piece, because like the coaching was what allowed me to do the scheduling better in my head. This was the first time I'd been without work since high school. So, and I usually knew somebody in the job that I ended up getting. So I never have gone through this process of finding a job on my own. So it was really helpful to figure out how to schedule my time and my day, what to focus on. I've done an interview with a paralegal, which is an area of work that I'm interested in doing now. So that allowed me to have some encouragement in where to pursue my time. On top of that, also to give myself a little downtime between that and enjoy my freedom for a while, I guess. So, and then the counseling piece was really fun. By the time I got to the counseling piece, I was kind of already in a pretty positive state of mind, but I can see how that could be really effective for those that were still stuck in like their grief process of their lost job. But it was really fun getting to talk to Paul. I've known him previously, and I'd forgotten that he has such a psychology background, and I have a psychology background, so we got to geek out over psychology theories for a while. And overall, I think this process would be a great add for businesses to get through the trauma of losing their job. I think that it's a program that allows people to evaluate where they're at right now and get themselves out of the emotional trenches and move forward. So appreciate it.
Sarah, we appreciate you. We appreciate you. And thanks so much for sharing your story with us today. And we're excited to hear what's next. So when you settle on what the future looks like, please keep us informed because we're going to celebrate with you. Okay.
I sure will.
That sounds great. Thank you very much. And now we're going to go to Sari, who's going to fill us in a little bit about things that our marketing maven knows and wants us to know.
Hi, everyone. It's been really fun to come back and work with Jonna and this whole group and really help them to create a program that is going to, not only reach our kind of circle of connection, but potentially could be, we want it to be a national program. We want people to find us and to really be that place where they can get this support, whether it's through the program and then the support groups and all of the coaching and counseling that can come with it for, really relatively low cost. So we would love your help. We have started, we have a Facebook page, and I'm going to put all the links into the chat. But we have a Facebook page that we would love for you to like and follow. And we'll just be putting up kind of general information there, great resources and quotes. And then we also have started a private Facebook group. And so this is really for people who have been laid off to come in and kind of start that initial process of feeling like they are supported and they are with other folks going through similar experiences. And so this is kind of that free version of a support group that hopefully will also get them to, that they'll know, like, and trust us and know that this is a great program. So just kind of introducing people to us, going through this process. And then we also just launched a YouTube channel. Yesterday was our first video, and we've created a number of series of videos. And I know I want to get Jonna and all of our team up there talking and doing YouTube lives and all sorts of fun stuff. So they don't know all the things that are in store for them yet, but I'm gonna gently pull them along. But we would love for you to go and like that YouTube video, or like that, subscribe to our channel, like the video, comment on the video. All of those things would really help us to find others who are seeking this help, and it just helps us grow our community. I think, was that all of them? Oh, and then I'll also drop in. Say that again?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'll just also drop in our email address. So if you need to reach out to us, we got a howdy at from Laid Off to Living. So I dropped in that email address as well for you to reach out if you ever want to, get in touch with us. So did I cover everything, Jonna?
Thank you so much. And we're going to open any questions that anybody has right now. You'd like to jump in or comments, that would be really great. I was just noticing that you've got sunflowers and smiling people. And so you might say to yourself, so this looks like a pretty happy thing. And yet being laid off isn't so happy. So maybe I want to share with you what that's really about, is that we really feel like going through the effort of understanding your emotions and really dealing with them, and then coming out the other side is really a great relief, and sort of like sunflowers, helps you bloom. And so we're kind of really focused on that through this program. You will do the work, you will go through the hard stuff, because that's how you get to the other side of this exacting journey. So perhaps for some of you, you might say, well, these folks are just cockeyed optimists. Well, anybody who's been laid off and worked through it and come out really has a little bit of that sunflower in them, because they had to go through that. So I want to thank you for that. So let's see if there's any questions, and then we'll slide into the raffle. You have any questions from anybody? Comments, thoughts?
I did text Kathy to let her know that it's on too, because we actually called each other thinking it was at 12.
Yeah.
So she might be able to get on. I don't know. I haven't gotten back from her.
So wrap up. We'll invite her in.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I know, Jonna, we had one question about whether can you just do the career coaching or just do the counseling and just do support?
I think Paul had kind of set the framework when he shared that, but our expectation is that you'll want to go through the program first, the online program. And again, it's self-paced. So anytime you want to jump over and have some career counseling or other kind of counseling with Paul or Siobhan, it's always available. It just, as Paul, I think, said so well, sets a framework for the journey. And I think that's really why it's set in that sequence that you see. But it's also, I think you'll find a useful framework to begin this whole journey with. So thanks for asking that. So great. Well, we also take questions anytime at.
Rich has a question for you.
Chaz one, it looks like.
We have a question.
Yes, Paul, I think in some of your earlier comments, you were talking about sort of the trauma that goes with getting laid off, but then you also introduced the anxiety of just being stuck in a job. And can the team talk about how much of this, I can see where pieces of this would be relevant to someone who's stuck, but I can also see, or think I'm seeing or hearing you say, there's a real attempt to share the story about being laid off, creating support groups around sort of that subset of folks struggling. Can you speak a little bit into the other subset of those who are stuck and why this is sort of 50% on target or still 100% on target for them?
Great question. Thanks, Rich.
I'll start if that's okay, and then Donna or Siobhan can jump in as well. I think one of the elements of having a support group, I talked a little bit about chosen versus unchosen change. And when people feel stuck, a lot of times things are going downhill, right? And it can be like that whole analogy of boiling a frog. If that it goes slowly, but things are going downhill and they're starting to feel disgruntled, but they're also feeling stuck. And having, reaching out or having the ability to reach out to a group like this, even on the Facebook page, gives an opportunity to sort of hear how other people got the courage to make that next step. And if they're able to then see that as empowering and to see the writing on the wall and to say, you know what, I'm disgruntled enough that one way or another in 6 months or a year, I'm probably going to be gone. This is actually an experience that I personally had in the past. And I called Jonna as a close friend and colleague for years. And Jonna said, chosen versus unchosen change. And I thought, yeah, so I can take some power here and I can actually start to build my future. I can start to look at what I want to do. And that's how I got out of really the corporate world and back to what my life's calling has always been, which is about being a therapist and helping people. So I think there is a place for that, especially if it's easily accessible through Facebook or the program. So you add something, Jonna?
Well, I think that you've captured it beautifully. I think the only other thing that I would say is that the stories that you've heard today, there's folks who've been laid off and jump back in. I think, Siobhan, you could probably speak to this, that if you jump back in too soon, or if you choose something that isn't really fitting, then you're kind of back where you started. You're in a spot that's just really not working. And if you find yourself in that spot, then probably it is time to do the work again that the program offers, which is really not only explore the emotional experience of being laid off, but what is your purpose and what is your passion and where are you going to put your talents? And that's all wrapped up in this, because you have to own who you are to move on. And sometimes that means a whole new career. Paul chose that, other folks have chosen that. So I think that's the other part of it, Rich, is when you're stuck, it's probably because you're just kind of not the place you need to be. And how do you get out of that? And that involves moving too, because if you were good at it, or you made a lot of money at it, or you got a lot of status because of it, sometimes it's a lot to let go of, to follow the passion and to follow your purpose and to feel good about your life. So, yeah.
One other thing I would add, I do a lot of couples work, but I also do some EAP type of work with corporations. And so I see employees who come in who are anxious or depressed and because potentially they're not in the best place for them. And just like I referred to the couples, because when a couple comes in, sometimes the outcome is that they stay married or stay together, and sometimes the outcome is that they don't stay together. And it's really not my judgment or place about how that goes, but it's about helping them determine together what that outcome is. And so looking at the corporate world, I've had lots of people come in who are anxious or depressed, and a huge part of that is their job. And so helping them through counseling they might get to the point where they say, you know what, I can stay at this position, but I need to set this and this boundary, or I need to make this change. Or, you know what, I really can't afford from my mental health and my relationship and my family to continue here, you know, or somewhere in between. And so sometimes the process ends up with instead of a layoff, someone choosing to leave. And then sometimes it's just is figuring out how they can stay in a way that works for their mental
Right.
This
How-
was my experience too, Rich. I felt stuck in my last job and in retrospect stayed there much longer than I should have. And I just kept ignoring that inner voice to the point where I started sort of losing myself and feeling anxious and isolated. And ultimately, I was laid off from that position. And I think that was the universe giving me the nudge that I didn't have the courage at that point to make the change myself. So I agree. And Jana's program, she uses her change builders model. And so I think it's applicable to so many different types of change, including when you're choosing to move on. And it doesn't make it any less scary. Again, I didn't find myself with the courage in my last role to make that move on my own, but it turned out to be the best thing for me. And so I think there are a lot of tools through this program where you can really reconnect with what are you looking for? What are your passions? What are your talents? And where will you be most fulfilled? What will light you back up? And I feel like I have come back to life going through all of that introspection and building my confidence and, moving into work that is really meaningful and fun to me. And so I would hope that for you too, and for everyone, and just, really encourage you, if you're feeling that inkling, to listen to yourself, to explore that. I think it will get you to a better place. And I do think this program can help.
Thank you so much. Thanks. What do you think, Rich? Does that help you? Oops, he's muted. You're muted. Oops.
I was asking the question somewhat generically, but had friends and family members who I think are in the position of feeling stuck and wanted to be able to speak with a little more authority if I were to share this program with them. So thanks for the response.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the question. Well, it looks like we need to little slide now over to any more questions, or do you see any more, Sari, there coming that we need to address? Because we're ticking down here and we want to make sure everybody.
No, I don't have any other questions. If you do, you're welcome to raise your hand or just unmute yourself. But I can announce Jolissa and Anne, you guys won the raffle for the 2 packages from Laid Off to Living. So I'm going to put and you can use these for yourself or gift them to someone else who might be going through layoff.
I didn't hear that part. Can you say?
Oh, Jolissa and Anne. So please email us at howdy at from laidofftoliving.com, and I put that in the chat too. So
Great.
Congratulations, Jolissa and Anne. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, we want to thank everybody for being here, and of course the team. Thank you, team. This has been we've been planting these seeds for a long time, and now it's finally blooming. So, and for those of you who chose to be with us today, thanks for taking this time out of your life for this. I really want to encourage you to spread the word, like the seeds. Throw them out there and see where they land, because we really want folks to feel comfortable reaching back in to us and hopefully joining us on this really very important time in all of our lives that are being affected tremendously by the pandemic and all the fallout of that. We really want to be able to reach out and help as many people as we can. So why don't we just agree today that we're going to share and support each other, and hopefully we can move the whole the whole bunch of us from laid off to living. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you all.